She left her iPad unlocked. That was her first mistake. I wasn't trying to snoop, I was helping her sync it for our trip. But one tap changed everything. A note popped open. At first, I thought it was a to-do list. Then I saw the title. Backup plans. My name was on it. So were 9 other men. Each one had a label. Mine. Safe. Loyal. Would never leave. I stared at it, frozen, while she packed 10 feet away, humming like nothing was wrong. That's when I realized. I was never her choice. Just her insurance. And what I found next, buried deep in her laptop, shattered everything I believed about our relationship. People used to tell me I was the safe one. Like it was a compliment. Like being the guy who never missed a birthday and always answered his phone at 2 a.m. made me dependable instead of forgettable. Back then, I took pride in that. I liked being the person people leaned on, especially her. Lauren and I had been together for just over 6 years. We weren't loud about it. No elaborate Instagram tributes or couple hashtags. We just fit, at least, I thought we did. Friends would joke that we were solid, the couple you don't think about until you realize they've outlasted everyone else. I work in IT, so maybe it tracks. My whole life is about fixing quiet problems. I don't make waves. I show up. That's how I loved her, too, steady, patient, always there. It wasn't passionate lately, sure. But I thought that was part of growing together. The kind of love that outlasts butterflies. One night, years ago, she looked at me after a long drive and said, "You're my safe place." I don't think I've ever felt more seen. I held on to that like gospel. The day everything shifted started like any other. We were syncing our devices before a trip. Her iPad wasn't loading some apps she needed. I offered to help, like always. She handed it to me unlocked, trusting, casual. That's when I saw it. A note was open in the background. I didn't mean to look, it was just there. A plain text list. At first, I thought it was a contact log, maybe something for work. But the title froze me. Backup plans. I didn't understand. I scrolled without thinking, like my body knew before my brain caught up. There were names. Some I recognized. Some I didn't. Each had a little description. Passionate. Fun. Would fight for me. Driven. Big personality. Risk taker. Old flame. Might still feel something. Then I saw my own name. It didn't even surprise me, not really. It was like my stomach had already tightened in preparation. Like I already knew. My entry read, stable. Loyal. Would never leave. Good with life logistics. I read it twice, hoping it would change. Hoping I'd hallucinated it. But there it was, bullet-pointed proof that I was never her partner. I was her contingency. Her safe option. I told myself not to overreact. Not to jump to conclusions. But the word wouldn't leave me. Option. Not partner. Not love. Not even friend. Just, a line on a list. A backup plan, in case the other lives she dreamed of didn't work out. I didn't say anything that night. Or the next. Instead, I started watching her. Not in a creepy, obsessive way, just noticing things I'd never paid attention to before. The way she laughed harder at her phone when I wasn't looking. The way she started locking her screen again after years of not bothering. A few days later, out of nowhere, she said, "I think I need to feel more alive lately." I nodded, but I didn't know what that meant. I started rewatching old memories like a detective reviewing cold cases. That rainy night we danced in the kitchen, did she feel it, or was I the only one in it? Our first apartment, was she already wondering if she'd settled? There's this flashback I keep going back to. A road trip we took to Asheville years ago. No real plan, just threw bags in the car and drove. We ended up at this cheap cabin with a broken heater and laughed ourselves to sleep under 4 layers of blankets. I thought that night meant something. I thought it was the kind of moment people built lives around. Now I wonder if she even remembers it. Or if I was already being sorted in her mind, good with logistics. I didn't confront her. I couldn't. Not yet. I kept thinking, maybe it's just a dumb list. A thought experiment. Something she wrote after a few glasses of wine, not realizing how cold it was. But I couldn't shake it. Because once you know you're someone's safety net, you stop feeling safe yourself. I read the entire list that night after she fell asleep. The iPad was still in the living room, screen dimmed, waiting. I sat on the couch in the dark with nothing but the glow of her words burning into my retinas. There were 9 names. Mine was 6th. Some had notes next to them that felt like character bios from a show I didn't know I was in. One guy, Nick, someone she used to work with, was labeled the firework. She wrote, "Makes me feel things I forgot I could. Bad idea, but tempting." Another, "High risk, high reward." Another, "Good chemistry. Terrible timing." And then me again. Like a spreadsheet column. Stable. Loyal. Would never leave. Good with life logistics. That last part stuck in my throat like a bone. Life logistics. That's what I'd become. Her personal project manager. Grocery planner. Travel organizer. Shoulder to cry on. Steady in a way that apparently made me disposable. I scrolled with my thumb, hand trembling hard enough to make the screen blur. I couldn't tell if I was shaking from rage or heartbreak. Probably both. The weirdest part. Some of the names were people we saw regularly. A mutual friend from her book club. A guy from our gym who once asked me if I wanted to grab a beer. She had entire other paths mapped out. And I realized, I was living with someone who was quietly rehearsing other lives. After that night, I couldn't unsee it. Every laugh, every glance at her phone, every "I'll be home late" started to feel loaded. She started saying things like, "I just feel kind of stuck lately." I nodded and pretended to understand, even as something in me curled up and flinched. There was this moment, maybe a week after I found the list, where we were out with friends, and she made a joke about me being the organized one. Everyone laughed, including me. But I felt something snap under the surface. Like I was being typecast in real time. And I couldn't shake the sense that she was waiting. Not even actively cheating, just emotionally window shopping. Keeping the flame low but lit in every other room. Some nights I'd lay next to her, wide awake, listening to the soft rhythm of her breathing, wondering how many versions of her existed outside this bed. I started pulling away, quietly. Not out of anger. More like survival. Stopped asking about her day. Let texts go unanswered a little longer. Noticed how she didn't really notice. She started doing more solo, self-care weekends. Yoga retreats. Visiting a cousin in Vermont. I stopped asking questions. I told myself maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I'd blown it out of proportion. Maybe everyone fantasizes. Maybe I was just the one dumb enough to find proof. But then there were moments, small, stupid ones, that broke me a little more each time. Like when she got a message while we were watching TV. She smiled down at her screen and turned it face down on the couch cushion. I felt my chest tighten, but I said nothing. Or the time she hugged me goodbye before work and didn't kiss me. She used to always kiss me. I convinced myself not to bring it up. Told myself I was imagining things. That I didn't want to become the jealous guy. The insecure guy. I buried it all and tried to act normal. Tried to laugh at the right times, eat dinner with her like nothing was rotting between us. But inside, everything was unraveling. I wasn't sleeping. Started setting alarms just to remind myself to eat. It wasn't about hunger anymore, it was about not vanishing. I'd sit at work and stare at code I couldn't follow, tabs open that I didn't remember clicking on. I even lied to my coworker, Tyler, told him I was just tired from the trip. What I didn't say was that I hadn't really slept in days. What I didn't say was that the person I shared a bed with felt like a stranger I was impersonating normal around. I kept replaying our memories like a broken reel. That first snowstorm we spent inside, building a blanket fort and binging old movies. The way she once looked at me like I was home. Now she barely looked at me at all. And I kept coming back to that list. That simple, cruel document. How long had she been curating it? How many times had I said, "I love you," while she was ranking alternatives? The worst part wasn't that she'd imagined other people. It was that she'd planned for them. It started with a folder I'd never noticed before. I was looking for our tax documents on her laptop, the same one we've both used for years, when I saw it. Tucked in the corner of her desktop, buried between old invoices and receipts. It was called Journal Locked. All caps. I wish I could say I hesitated. That I weighed the morality of it, respected her privacy. But by then, I was too far gone. I'd already seen the list. The emotional contract had been breached. She hadn't changed the password since college. I remembered it because it was my name, plus the year we met. Inside were entries going back months. Pages of her thoughts, raw and unchecked. I read until my eyes burned. One entry said, "He's everything I'd want, if I were ready to settle." Another, "It's like living with a version of the life I told myself I wanted. But I can't breathe in it anymore." Each paragraph was a blade. I kept scrolling. Her handwriting was digital but familiar, the way she typed fast and sometimes skipped punctuation when she was emotional. I recognized the rhythm, even if I didn't recognize the person. There was a note about an ex. One I didn't even know she still talked to. She wrote, "He's chaos." But I think I missed the feeling of not knowing what would happen next. I sat there, staring at the screen, my reflection dim and hollow in the laptop glass. I wasn't a person to her anymore. I was a benchmark, a measurement of safety she resented. Then came the final blow. A screenshot. A birthday message. It was from her to one of the guys on the list, not someone I knew well, but I'd seen him at a couple events. She sent him a balloon emoji. Then, "Happy birthday. Hope you're doing amazing, red heart." That was it. Just a little emoji. A single line. But it felt surgical. Intentional. Like a quiet knock on a door she didn't want to close. She hadn't messaged me that warmly in months. I closed the laptop and sat still for what felt like an hour. My brain was buzzing but my body wouldn't move. I felt like I was watching myself from somewhere above, some alternate version of me who still believed this was a life worth fighting for. Later that night, I went into the bathroom, locked the door, and just broke. I didn't cry like they do in movies, not soft and beautiful. I collapsed against the sink, gasping. I don't remember hitting the steering wheel earlier that day, but my knuckles were red. I think I screamed. I hope I screamed. I didn't eat that night. Didn't sleep. She asked me the next morning if I was feeling okay. I told her I was just tired. She kissed me on the forehead and said, "Don't overwork yourself." It almost made me laugh. She had no idea. Or maybe she did. Maybe she just didn't care. I started imagining myself leaving. Where I'd go. What I'd pack. But then I'd imagine her crying, asking why I was doing this, pretending she didn't know. And I wasn't ready to face that yet. So I stayed. I stayed and smiled and kept the rot to myself. Started keeping a list of my own, not of people, but of truths. Little things I couldn't unknow. Like how she didn't reach for me anymore when she was cold at night. How she never played with my hair when we watched TV. How the little rituals, the "good morning" texts, the inside jokes, had quietly died without burial. I wasn't waiting for her to hurt me anymore. She already had. I was just waiting to see if she'd notice. And the silence between us kept getting louder. It happened on a Tuesday. Nothing dramatic led up to it. No screaming match or glaring red flag. Just a normal evening, takeout containers on the counter, laundry half folded on the couch, her sitting across from me on the floor with her laptop balanced on her knees. She was humming under her breath. Some song she liked to play when she cooked. I remember thinking how unfair it was that everything looked normal, even now. She asked if I'd seen her charger. I told her it was on the windowsill. She thanked me without looking up. That's when it hit me, we'd become roommates. Project managers cohabiting a shared to-do list. And somewhere in the margins, she was writing alternate endings. I don't even remember standing up. My voice came out quieter than I meant, but it was steady. I found the list, Lauren. She looked up. Blinked once. Then twice. No shock. No panic. Just stillness. "What list?" she asked, but not like she didn't know. More like she was buying time. I stepped closer. I could feel my pulse in my jaw. "The one on your iPad. Backup plans. With names. Descriptions. Mine included." Her eyes narrowed, jaw setting in that clipped way she used when cornered. "So you were snooping through my stuff." That was her first response. Not guilt. Not confusion. Just accusation. She stood and crossed her arms, defensive posture hardening like armor. "Seriously? That was private. You're going through my notes now." I almost laughed, but nothing about it was funny. "That's what you're focusing on?" I asked. "Not the part where you listed me like a second-string quarterback." Her voice was flat. "They're just thoughts. I write stuff to process. It doesn't mean anything." I could feel myself unraveling, piece by piece. "You categorized people, Lauren. You called me stable, loyal, would never leave. That's not a compliment. That's a contingency." She didn't deny it. Just rolled her eyes. Actually rolled her eyes. "You were never the risk taker. That's why I kept you around," she said. Those words broke something in me. It wasn't just the cruelty, it was the clarity. She'd never chosen me. She'd used me. For what? I asked, my voice cracking for the first time. "Security? Grocery runs? The guy who holds your life together while you daydream about better options?" Her mouth tightened. I've been trying to figure myself out. You don't get it. I feel like I've been stuck in a version of myself that isn't real. And I was what? The practice run? She sighed and rubbed her temples like I was the exhausting one. You're making this into some grand betrayal, she said. But it's not like I cheated. I haven't done anything. I stared at her, waiting for something, remorse, panic, even a flicker of empathy. But she looked bored. Like this conversation was an inconvenience. I almost said more. I almost let all of it out, the journals, the DMs, the late nights I spent spiraling in silence while she slept 10 feet away. But I didn't. Because I realized something, she wasn't sorry. Not for the list. Not for keeping doors open. Not for turning our relationship into a waiting room. She was only sorry she got caught reading her own exit signs. I didn't cry. Didn't shout. I just felt tired. Deep, bone-deep tired. You already left, I said quietly. You just didn't have the decency to tell me. She didn't answer. Just looked past me, like there was nothing left worth salvaging. I packed a bag that night. Not everything, just what I needed to not come back. She watched me from the hallway, arms folded, silent. No pleading. No apology. Just silence. And in that silence, I finally heard the truth. I'd been holding up a life she wasn't even living in anymore. I didn't slam the door. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a dramatic exit. I walked out quietly. Like a man waking up from a dream he didn't realize had been draining the life out of him. The first night after I left, I slept on Tyler's couch. He didn't ask questions, just opened the door, handed me a beer, and let me sit in silence. I told him we were taking space. That's all I could get out. He didn't press. Just sat nearby and let the silence stretch. That meant more than any advice could have. I kept thinking I'd wake up to a flood of messages from her, long paragraphs, anger, regret, something. But she only texted once. Let me know when you're ready to talk. No urgency. No apology. Just casual detachment, like she was scheduling a dentist appointment. I didn't respond. The second night, I broke. I was driving aimlessly, nowhere to go, just trying to outrun the noise in my head, and something inside snapped. I pulled over into an empty parking lot, turned off the engine, and sat in the dark until the silence felt unbearable. Then I lost it. I screamed, full-throated, guttural, fists pounding the steering wheel until my hands went numb. I sobbed so hard I couldn't breathe, chest heaving like my body was trying to physically eject the betrayal. I don't know how long I was there. Eventually I wiped my face with the sleeve of my hoodie and drove back to Tyler's, eyes swollen, voice gone. The next morning, I started therapy. Found someone through an app. Didn't even wait, just booked the soonest slot I could find. I needed someone to help me make sense of it, or at least keep me from drowning in it. I told her everything, the list, the journals, the confrontation. She didn't say much that first session. Just let me talk until I ran out of words. That was the first time I admitted out loud. I don't know what love is supposed to feel like anymore. Lauren and I had shared everything, furniture, finances, families. But I looked back now and saw how much of that life I'd built alone. All the rituals I thought meant something, her coffee order I memorized, the playlists I made for road trips, the nights I cooked just to see her smile, they weren't proof of love. They were signs of someone holding up a house by himself. I started collecting small moments of clarity. Not wins. Just pieces of me I'd forgotten. I rewatched old movies I used to love before I tried to tailor my tastes to hers. Played guitar again, fingertips clumsy but grateful. Took walks with no destination. And one night, I opened the file. The note on her iPad. The list. I still had the photo I'd taken of it, couldn't bring myself to delete it, like some part of me still needed proof it really happened. My finger hovered over the trash icon. But I didn't delete it. Instead, I renamed it. What I missed. Because that's what it was. Not just a list of betrayal, but a list of all the red flags I ignored, all the ways I let someone make me small just so they could feel big. There's no revenge here. No karmic twist where she comes begging and I slam the door. Just silence. She hasn't reached out again. And I haven't gone back. Tyler doesn't ask much, but sometimes he'll slide a coffee across the table and say, better today, and that's enough. I'm not better yet. But I'm not drowning either. Some nights, I still hear her voice. Still picture that look she gave me, like I was useful, not loved. Like she was already halfway gone. But I remind myself, I was never the mistake. I was the lesson. And no matter what comes next, I know one thing for sure. I won't be anyone's option again.